Hi, I'm Charlie from Summary Sanctum, and today we're diving into what Cal Newport says is the essential skill for success in the 21st century. And it's something that feels harder than ever to actually do, but man, is it more valuable than ever before.
So, that was the world-renowned psychiatrist Carl Jung, and he was describing his private stone tower. And get this, he didn't build it to escape his work, no, he built it to master it. This thing wasn't some vacation home. It was basically a factory for ideas that would literally change the world.
You know that feeling? You end a day of just frantic emailing, constant meetings, you look at the clock, and you think, what did I actually get done today? Well, if that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. And there's a name for the culprit behind that feeling, and it's quietly sabotaging pretty much all of our potential.
I mean, let's be honest. We're living in an age that's just defined by distraction. You look around, and it seems like most of our work habits, our offices, even our digital tools, they're almost actively designed to keep us in this state of busyness that holds us back from doing anything truly meaningful.
And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. A McKinsey study actually found that the average knowledge worker spends over 60% of their week, that's 3 full days, by the way, on electronic communication and web searching. Think about that. Nearly a third of their entire work week is just email.
So this constant state of fragmented attention, this is what Cal Newport calls shallow work. And you can think of it as all the busy work that just fills up our days, right? Answering emails the second they pop up, hopping on last-minute calls, replying to instant messages. It all feels productive, but it rarely, if ever, actually moves the needle.
But okay, there is an alternative. It's this powerful, focused way of working that's been practiced by some of the most influential and productive people throughout history. It's a path that leads us away from all that shallow stuff and into the deep. So let's circle back to Jung for a second. He understood this fundamental truth. If he was going to produce revolutionary ideas that would challenge guys like Sigmund Freud, he couldn't just be busy. No, he had to go deep. He had to shut out the hectic city life to actually truly think.
And this right here brings us to the core concept: deep work. It's basically the antidote to that shallow, reactive state we find ourselves stuck in all the time. Yeah, this is that intense, single-task focus that feels hard for sure, but it's exactly where the real breakthroughs happen. It's the kind of work that actually makes you better at what you do.
And you know what? Jung wasn't some kind of outlier. This pattern just shows up again and again and again throughout history. Mark Twain? He needed an isolated shed to write. J.K. Rowling famously stayed off social media while writing Harry Potter. Woody Allen wrote 44 films on a manual typewriter, never even owned a computer. And even Bill Gates, a guy who built the digital world, would go off and isolate himself for these think weeks just to read and think. I mean, the pattern is pretty undeniable.
So the contrast here couldn't be more stark. Deep work, that's where innovation and real mastery happen. It's what makes you valuable. Shallow work, on the other hand, is just logistical. It's easy to replicate, and ultimately, it just keeps you stagnant. It's like one path leads to real impact, and the other leads to, well, just being busy.
All right, so now we get to the core argument of the whole book, what Newport calls the deep work hypothesis. And honestly, this idea is incredibly powerful, so lean in for this one. Okay, here's the crucial point. As the world gets noisier and more distracted, the few people who can actually cultivate intense, unbroken focus, they are going to be the ones who disproportionately thrive. Your ability to resist the siren song of the shallow and actually go deep, that is becoming a genuine economic superpower. So why is it a superpower? Well, because deep work is basically the engine that drives the two most essential abilities for success today. Number one, the ability to master hard things fast. To do that, you need intense focus. And number two, the ability to produce at an elite level, both in quality and speed. And to do that, you have to operate at your absolute peak, totally free from distraction. Okay, so this begs the question, right? If this skill is so incredibly valuable, why are so many modern workplaces seemingly designed to just destroy it? Why are we all actively working against our own best interests? It doesn't make a lot of sense on the surface. Well, it's not because shallow work is better. It's because it's just easier. We naturally default to what's simple in the moment, like constantly checking email. And we mistake all that visible activity, firing off emails, for actual valuable productivity. Plus, because it's really hard to measure the negative impact of all this distraction on the bottom line, a lot of companies just ignore it. Okay, so how do you actually start cultivating this superpower in your own life? And look, it's not about becoming a hermit and moving to a cabin in the woods.
It all begins with intentionally choosing a philosophy for deep work that actually fits your life and your specific circumstances.
So, Newport lays out 4 main ways to do this. First up is the monastic approach. This is for people who can pretty much eliminate all shallow work. A bit extreme for most of us. Then there's the bimodal approach, which is kind of like what Carl Jung did. You split your time into big, clear chunks for deep work and then other times for everything else. More realistic is the rhythmic approach. This is where you build a simple, regular habit, like say 90 minutes of deep work first thing every morning. And finally, you have the journalistic approach, where you fit deep work in wherever you can, but honestly, this one takes a ton of practice to get right. The key, though, isn't which one you pick, it's that you actually pick one and are intentional about it.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to really think about. When you look at your own schedule, your own day, how much of it is truly spent on that value-creating, skill-improving, deep work? Because that first step is just to honestly look at your own habits. In a world that is literally drowning in distraction, the future belongs to the focused.